All right, we are live, but the counter restarted, so we'll just get started. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us today. We've got a great topic to discuss today. We're going to talk a little bit about freedom in Idaho. I know everybody's take on what freedom means to them is going to be different, but we're just going to kind of share what our perspectives are, what our thoughts are on a number of different areas, from education to business. And medical, neighborly freedom, what that means to us, and kind of what we've seen in the area over time. We've got a great panel with us today. I think Chase got a little distracted. There he is. How you doing, Chase?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, we got Chase Hodgson and Dr. Bledsoe to chat on their thoughts about freedom here in Idaho. But before we do, just want to quickly address our sponsor, and I'll introduce myself. For those that you don't know me, I'm the associate broker and team lead here at My Home Connection, and our sponsor for the day is the perfect home buying process. We've spent the last couple of decades developing out what it looks like to perfect the process of buying a home, from different reports to relocation and lifestyle guide to a podcast series to answer the questions that you might have, all the way to real estate secrets and a lot more. We'll share later on in the podcast how to take advantage of the program, especially the special offers. Chase has partnered with us to help with the appraisal costs of your home, and My Home Connections contributing to the home inspection. All this at closing. So with that, we'll get started. I'll introduce yourself, maybe from left to right. How you doing, Dr.?
Good, good. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy hanging out with you two dudes.
Yeah, we make it fun, right? Dr., you're director of operations and doing real estate part time. Is that a fair, short
Yeah, that's kind of
summary?
the stage I'm at right now, but it keeps me really busy. That with doing the construction commercial side of things right now, and then still working with some real estate. But as you guys have experienced, doing all that and being a dad at the same time, coaching and traveling, and all that, it keeps a guy busy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. DR is our go-to guy for a lot of ag and ranch, and just a lot of those types of properties, specifically up north area. DR spent time up in the McCall, years up in the McCall area, so he's our go-to guy for that information. And then Chase Hodgson with Summit Funding. You've got a little similar story with the family and being in real estate, but on the lending side.
Yeah, boy, howdy. I've got kids across the spectrum, 15, 12, and 7. I coach as well. Like DR, I coach a club baseball team. And so, the play likes to play 60 plus games a year. And so that's always, that takes a lot of my time. I have a small farm that I live on with, horses and goats and dogs and chickens and cows and pigs and all that. So
Awesome.
I'm a busy guy too. And then, the daytime, yeah, from 9 to 5 or 8 to 8, I don't know, whatever the day is, right?
Yep.
I'm in the lending game, uh, which I truly love. And I'm also a real estate investor myself with a
Excellent.
number of
Well, we certainly appreciate all that, and especially your willingness to partner with us on the perfect home buying process. We know minimizing costs, is a big consideration when people are buying a home and having access to expertise such as yourself. I know you did appraisal before getting into the lending side of things, so you bring a experience in that realm as well.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I've been in and around real estate construction my entire life. I did about a decade's worth of appraisal in this valley prior and through the 2008 time period, and so I got to see a lot of ups and downs. Have a lot of knowledge as far as new construction and real estate in general, and you know, it's what I love. And so, it's a joy to be able to work in real estate all day long.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Well, let's chat with folks a little bit about what freedom means to us. I know, I've lived here since '94, so quite some time. I'm not a native. The both of you are natives, and we hear a lot of questions in regards to how all captured in the freedom category. of people moving into the area or lack thereof, freedom where they're moving from. We hit a number of topics, but I think one that we could chat about initially is business. You had commented in a prior podcast, Chase, that there's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit and new businesses that start up here in Idaho for that very reason.
Yes, yeah, we have a really unique valley, right? It started, I think, as we talked about, Jerod, it started, back decades ago with HP and Micron and them building those massive empires that they have here, great companies providing a good base, but that startup mentality is pretty thick here. We've got ClickFunnels, we have bodybuilding.com. A lot of very successful startups have come from Boise, and with the new focus on us and the tech industry, right? Like it's just the tech industry really fosters that these days. And so, I think a lot of focus we have with people moving here is that freedom of business because of the type of valley that we are. We offer a lot of freedoms, tax breaks, ability to run your business the way that you want to, without a lot of oversight.
Yeah, I think the majority of our clients coming from the West Coast, coming from California, Washington, Oregon, just to entertain the idea of putting up a business can be daunting, even before considering if it's going to be viable, let alone the initial upfront costs. So when they come to Idaho, and there's trade-offs in either camp, and you can make arguments on either side, but certainly that initial upfront startup cost is a big consideration. And if you're overwhelmed with all the regulations and things to consider, some people just say, you know what, I'm not even gonna go there. It's just too risky for me. But I think Idaho is very conducive to building a new business.
Yeah, and we have different parts of the valley too that are even more so, right? The economic developer that came to Caldwell years ago that started, really revitalizing that part of our valley. They've been super successful with bringing business to, giving opportunity, whether it's through real estate or tax breaks or, their recruiting has been fantastic. And now he's a part of that, of Napa as well. And so that west part of the valley is really, really growing as far as manufacturing and, industrial. I think it's been great for us.
In your role of director of operations there, DR, are you having to consider a lot of these issues with costs and regulations and whatnot, and how it affects small business, medium business?
Well, I mean, like I say, one of the commercial sites we're dealing with, some of these bigger companies, but other than a few pauses that was going along, things are continuing to look great. I mean, our forecast for the next year and a half is extremely busy, and so companies are continually looking at the area and wanting to put some roots down here and get going. Or we're seeing a lot of expansion as well, particularly in the medical side of things.
Yeah, medical's a big industry here. Tech's a big industry here. Of course, ag are big industries here.
Yeah, I think there's still, you touch on ag, Jerod, and I think there's still a ton of freedoms that our folks in that industry here are afforded as opposed to some of the states that they're fleeing, right? Like there's the regulation wise, I think it's a lot easier to perform in those industries here in Idaho than some of our neighboring states.
Mm-hmm.
100%. I've got a buddy that lives out in Marsing area, and there are a whole passel of farmers who've moved out there. That it was just absolutely ridiculous the things they were having to do and try to farm. In fact, they couldn't. They got to a point where they couldn't farm. They couldn't make a living, so they moved here, and they're doing great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Love hearing that. I mean, we don't want to lose those industries in our state, right? That's how we grew up, was cattle and sheep and farming, and it's knowing that we're maintaining those aspects, phenomenal. That makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot to reference in regards to businesses in our area, why why you would move here to start a new business. So we won't, kind of belabor that, but I think that's a big draw. And Chase, by the way, is the one to speak to. If you're going to start a new business, how to position yourself, things to consider in order to buy a home as you go along, because you're going to want to plan that out in advance as much as you can. So the sooner you get together with Chase and map that out, what that looks like. Should I relocate here and stay in the job force, or should I start my business and then get a home? Or just tossing around those ideas sooner than later will save you a lot of headache, rather than moving here, starting a business, go, oh, I got to wait till year whatever to actually afford a home. So have that discussion sooner than later. But I think the other one too, a lot of people want to know about is education, choice, freedom of choice. What schools am I going to put my children in, where at? And it kind of shocks me. I moved here in '94, and my oldest daughter came along not too long after that. But it never occurred to me as much as it should have, in regards to how important it was for me to make those choices for where my kids go to school. And hearing people coming from out of town, out of state, and not having those choices, or those choices rapidly going away, kind of hurts my heart. I can't imagine not, as a parent, making the choice to what type of school my kids go to or where they go to. And we've all got 3 kids, as I recall, right, Chase? You've got 3.
Yeah.
And,
Yep. 3 boys.
Yep. 3 for me. So, go ahead.
DR, remind me the ages of your kids again.
Turned 12, 14, and another month, 16.
No. Okay. So I'm with my older 2, about similar. So I'm curious, what are you experiencing as far as education? How are you guys approaching that? Are you in public school? Are you in private school?
Yeah, well, we moved a couple times in the last year. So we've done public, and we were in McCall at public, and really that was a good experience. We came down here, had a lot of options where we live. We had I don't know, we had 2 different public schools that we could have chosen from. We had a couple of charters, and just because of happenstance of my wife getting a job offer to teach, she's a teacher, to teach at a private, we took that, and we're at a private right now. So that's been kind of nice to be able to, when here we were just doing some stay-at-home homeschooling, because we kind of hit mid-fall and we weren't really sure where we wanted to go. So we had the boys homeschool, but we went through a state online charter, which is a phenomenal program. My wife's a teacher, and she's pretty hard on homeschool curriculum and what that is and expectations. And the online state charter was an outstanding option for us, and allowed us to still play sports through some of the charter schools. So we had some really neat options still.
Yeah. So that was the answer I was looking for. Actually, I'm kind of in the same boat. So when you talk about freedom, Jerod, of schools, right? With the growth that we've experienced, we've lost a little bit of that freedom, because a lot of the schools that were open enrollment are full, and so they're not doing the open enrollment. That's what I experienced with the public sector. But the awesome thing is that there's growth in private, there's growth in charter. Idaho is one of the easiest, and I have a number of friends that do it, but one of the easiest states to homeschool in. And there is a ton of opportunity in that. And the homeschool community here is pretty vast. So even though we've contracted in that one area, right, it really feels like we've exploded everywhere else. And so even though there's less public opportunity or choice, I should say, everything else is just way beyond what we've ever known before.
By the way, guys, I was
Absolutely.
just checking my audio here real quick. Is my sound good?
Yeah, you sound good to me.
On my headphones, it sounds a little quiet.
I mean, you don't sound as good as DR. You don't have that nice deep rasp to you, but it's loud enough.
Yeah, I never will. He's got an amazing voice. So, but yeah, and I saw that my kids are all adulting now. They're in their 20s, so things have changed over the last I guess it'd be almost a decade now since they were in school. So you guys are in the throes of contending with what schools can I get them into, which ones I can't. But it seems like compared to, and you tell me, Chase, when your clients come in from out of state, the choices they have there are not few and far between, but they're certainly less than ours.
And not to pick on any one state particularly, but most of the clients I've worked with over the past 3 years, they're really struggled just because they haven't been in class. They haven't had that opportunity. There's a lot of shutdowns that were extended, so the kids weren't able to actually go to school, and that's probably the biggest complaint that I've seen from my from my clients coming out of town. And then they're bigger states, right? They've had a ton of growth, and their schools are full, and then curriculum, right? Curriculum wasn't what they had wanted to teach their kids.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about with the options, with it's homeschool, the charters. You really can step back and look at the curriculum, and does it match your kid? Does it match his personality? Is it going to help him grow and excel, or is it going to be a struggle? That's a real thing, and some parents want to have those options to kind of pick and choose. And I mean, we have families, and I'm getting ready to do this with my oldest. We're going to actually move him out of the private, let him do the online charter again, and then get him going in the afternoon with some hands-on stuff where he's going to be learning a lot of great things, because he's a project guy, and the classroom only is good for so long, and he gets straight A's blindfolded, but he'll start getting bad grades just because he's sick of it,
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
challenged.
that's interesting, right? Like, because each kid has different interests and different needs. And my oldest is huge in the band, right? So he's in public high school, and he has that opportunity. My middle, my 12-year-old, we didn't feel like he was getting the education that he needed, and so we moved him over to a charter. But he's super athletic, right? And so he goes to school at the charter, and then he still gets to participate in the sports, in the district that we live in, right? And so there's a lot of different ways to approach it now, which is just fantastic, and you can kind of mold that to your kid. I'd love my kids to be able to stay at home. None of them yet are really great at learning online. They like that interaction. So having that still as an option is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, time's flying by here, so we'll keep it on point as far as next topic. But the medical side of things isn't something I'm super informed with. My hope is that you guys are a little more familiar with that. But I do hear comments about people that are in like the medical fields in other states as they're moving, into the area, and it sure seems like even the things that they can say, they're a nurse, they're a doctor, or whatever, the things they can't and can't say, and the things they require people to do in that profession, contrasting it from the Idaho area's almost night and day difference. People that have, had lifelong careers in those fields moving to this area they're just fed up. They just can't take it anymore. And then of course, what people have to do in regards to, things like the recent pandemic, in order to, meet the requirements that are handed down to them, by the governor or by whomever. There's a stark contrast between where they're coming from to Idaho. Has that been your experience, guys?
For me, yeah, like I've worked with a number of doctors and nurses, and helped them find places here, and that's kind of been the experience, right? Just taking pressure basically off of over regulation in some of the bigger states, and it allowing them to be more free with what they with what they're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I will touch on this in the medical field, just from personal experiences. Our growth has definitely put some pressure on ours, right? As far as I think if you're in those fields, Idaho's a great place to be. And the opportunity is huge because we don't have enough of anything anymore. Right?
Right.
Like, yeah, through the pandemic, I have a, I won't bore everybody to tears, but I have an autoimmune, and through the pandemic, like I struggled, right? There was, with all the people that moved here, it slowed the growth of business because, businesses weren't moving. People were moving from state to state, but businesses weren't moving. And so we didn't add chiropractors, we didn't add specialty doctors, like rheumatologists and things like that at the rate of growth that we were experiencing. And so we're behind on all the specialty items in medical, right? All the specialty fields. And so, it is easier to be in those fields here, and it's very, very, very much needed.
Yeah, probably the biggest thing I've seen and experienced is because of the balance of life and what you can do. A lot of these medical people are wanting that because they're like, man, I gotta unplug. I need to go feed my soul. But you're right. Like we try to get lined up with doctors with some medical things we have in our family. And what used to be, 30 days out, it's like 6 months out for some of these, people now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to Utah for one of my specialists because nobody has
Yeah.
availability here.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, like again to your point, like all the hospitals are located close to a lot of recreational areas. Well, which is pretty nice in this state, and so it does allow them to unplug pretty quickly. And yeah, I can't think of a field this is more needed in for sure.
Yes.
So a little insight into the medical side. I guess the other one we have labeled on our website is neighborly freedom. I guess that could cover a lot of different areas, but some of the first things that come to mind is, if somebody wants to come here and, like you said, Chase, have chickens and pigs and, what have you, we've still got quite a bit of properties without HOAs and a lot of the governance surrounding that. Of course, acreage is properties here. Even though our inventory is low, I would imagine you still have better access to that than you're going to out of the other states that I hear people relocating from.
I would think. I mean, so I'm licensed in 12 or 13 states. I can't remember. I'm trying to count them real quick in my head. There are some, like a lot of the surrounding states, right? Those are ones I get licensed in immediately. And I do some loans there, and it's definitely harder in some of these areas to find that, or just incredibly, not that we're cheap, but incredibly cost prohibitive. And so that's going to limit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll get the question around. Okay, if I'm gonna be in an area with CCNRs under an HOA, what does that look like? And they'll tell me where they're coming from, and I can understand why they wouldn't want it. Sounds like kind of a nightmare in my experience. I would say here it's more or less, don't frustrate somebody, and you've got nothing to worry about. Just take care of your property and you'll be fine. Not often do we see them breathing down your neck about every little thing that you do. So there's much more freedom in respect to that. Has that been your experience, DR?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, you've got a few neighborhoods like everywhere where they're a little more uptight, but for the most part, I'd say in general, it's like what you said. It's keep it clean, keep it classy, keep it looking nice, like you maintain it, keep water your lawn and don't have obnoxious, things going on. But for the most part, everybody's wanting to live their life, and we get it, and every once in a while, a dog's going to bark, and you're going to, I mean, so. But everybody wants their, everybody else wants to, just let people uh, enjoy themselves, enjoy their home and their piece of ground they have. So
Yeah. We're not getting the story of, hey, I pulled my car in the garage and I went in and forgot it for about an hour, and the next day I got a letter in my mailbox about having my garage open too long. Those aren't stories we really have here.
Yeah, there. I think there's still a number of even the newer HOAs that like allow you to have backyard chickens and even within a subdivision and stuff like that. So I think we're pretty lenient. I find it hard to comprehend what it would be like. I'm on 15 acres in the middle of, out in the country. So anybody telling me
Yeah.
would be difficult.
Well, for a while, don't tell anybody, but my son was raising baby chicks in our neighborhood, and it is not a thing. He was a
Not
baby
allowed
chick
there.
dealer. He was selling baby chicks left and right.
I love
Wait,
it.
and you can, like, and I mean, we talked about traffic, right, Jared, a
Hmm.
week or so ago, and
Yeah.
traffic, right? That your commute allows you to have more freedom, right? So people from some of these other areas, like if you go to Portland or Seattle or any number of towns in California, you often hear of people commuting 2 hours to go to work, right? Well, if you drive 45 minutes straight west of here, you can have a lot of freedom because you can be in the middle of nowhere, right?
That's
So
a good point.
that traffic allowing you to get out of town to get whatever level of freedom with your property that you want, right? And still a decent commute.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
You can step right out in your back porch in your birthday suit. Nobody will care. Ways out.
That's right.
Nobody cares because nobody will see.
That too.
Well, we can't have this discussion about freedom without talking about firearms, right? I think that's going to be one of the topics that people want to know about, whether they want it to be that way or they don't. My brother is in that industry, and he can't imagine it being any other way than it is here in Idaho. The freedoms we're afforded here, what we can carry, when we can carry it, that freedom, and you guys can probably speak to it way better than I can, but I would say if you're looking for that type of freedom, not too many places will have more than Idaho. Is that a fair assessment?
I believe so.
Yeah. You don't have any
We're
issues hunting or
so
anything
we're
in our
open,
area?
right? I mean, it's an open carry state, so whether it's for self protection, whether it's hunting, whether it's target, yeah, like there's a lot of firearms in Idaho for sure.
Keeps everybody on their toes, doesn't it? No, I'm just kidding.
It's
just
not been
just
my
kidding. Bad
experience.
joke. Bad joke. Well,
I don't know.
the one thing I'm thinking about that was kind of jarring, that I could see both ways is when we, had some of the riots um, in other states and other cities, and there was perceived um, uh, heightened awareness of potential riots here in our cities, like in Boise. And when they went downtown and realized the amount of people that were carrying to make sure that stores and businesses were kept intact, I think shocked a lot of people. And it was all perfectly legal. There's no reason why we can't do that. There was no violence, to my understanding, but that detoured. We didn't have. I mean, we could have protests here, but we don't have many, if any, riots that I can think of. And you know, is that the deterrent, or was there other things involved? I don't know, but at least we have the freedom to make those judgment calls on our own. Is kind of the
Yeah.
general
Well, they made
consensus.
it very apparent they were coming to destroy people's properties, right? So the community members came together and said, "Hey, try that in a small town." You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and they didn't. You can argue that all you want. That's not right. Why are they walking the streets with those kind of weapons? But the result was we didn't have any riots.
and
So
I think I think I am pro firearms. Like I grew up hunting. Like I'm an Idaho native. Like I am that guy, right? You too, Dr. I'm it's you grow up hunting, you grow up fishing, and you're in the outdoors. If that's the one thing that I would say is if you don't like uh, the outdoors, Idaho's probably not your place, right? That would be the one thing that I could think of. But we live outside here, and I am pro firearm, and I've come to realize that the biggest piece is just education. I think that's it with most things. You know,
100%.
if
yep,
you're educated, if we're educating our people that are buying firearms, right, and they know the safety and the proper use, and if you don't like firearms, that's fine too. Just be educated on them one way or the other, right? Just understand where everybody's coming from, but they're like, we don't have a lot of those issues here.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can say, our safety is because of the firearms. You can say we were lucky, whatever. But like I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that our state's full of guns.
Well,
It
I think you
doesn't.
nailed it. It's because we got a lot of educated people who understand it, respect it, and know, what the point of it was, and so.
Yeah. Yeah, well, as with most things, it's all lot to do with perspective. So that'll be, we have an upcoming podcast on cons of moving to the Idaho area, Chase and I. So we'll, I'm sure that
It's gonna be a
topic
hard one.
that'll be one of the topics in that podcast. So if you want to hear that one, feel free to subscribe and see how we how we address that topic. But well, gentlemen, we blew right through the 20 to 25-minute time frame. So we'll wrap things up. We did promise the listeners that we would show them how to take advantage of the perfect home buying process. Let's see, on our website, you can just on the home page or any page, top right, have the phone numbers, emails, or you can just comment below. In regards, just reference perfect home buying process, and we'll get you started. We'll get you some information, get you that free, no obligation consultation, and talk about what that looks like. So feel free to reach out at any time. But other than that, guys, I really want to thank you again for your time today, your insight on the contribution of the topic of freedom in Idaho.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for your time, guys. Always good.
Love the conversation, gentlemen. Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks, guys, and everyone listening, tuning in. Have a blessed one.
Take care.